Some of them have submitted questions to us in advance, which we have reviewed and collated. Elvis Gomes, the president of AIPC Goa, would be the one asking our honorable chairman these questions, and he'll be mentioning who these people are. Now, because this is an election event, because it is being broadcast live, we are muting everyone and we're not enabling the chat. Because for obvious reasons, there are trolls, there are other challenges that we have. And because this entire thing is broadcast publicly, we don't want to be in a situation where we cause a controversy needlessly. Other than that, if there are any other questions or anything, we're all available. We have not opened the room as yet. Chairman, once you are ready and once our senior leaders are ready, we will then open it to the public and then the public can log in and join. Now. So, Dr. Tharoor?
I'm ready unless any of you feel that I need to adjust my lighting or camera or anything, I'm ready.
Your frame is fine, sir.
Okay, then I'm all set.
People are there.
Okay, so are we ready to start? Or should I?
Also, I'm going to start recording.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay, we're going to record the session. So if you can record, please.
I'm going to admit the guests and then I'm going to put it on AIPC page live.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Go ahead, Elvis, over to you. We're going to pin your screen, sir.
Hello, everyone. Savale Goenkar, Baba Bainank, Mai Mogatso, Namaskar. My name is Elvis Gomes. I am the president of the All India Professionals Congress. This event that we are bringing before you is a live event wherein we have very accomplished and eminent personalities who will be introduced to you shortly. We also have our GPCC President, Goa Pradesh Congress Committee President, Mr. Girish Chodankar. We also have amongst us our leader, CLP leader, Mr. Digambar Kamath. And of course, the team is ready now to receive all of you. So I begin with a short address. All India Professionals Congress has been there, but it wasn't in Goa until recently. The Indian National Congress team and as well as the Goa Pradesh Congress team encouraged that it should be formed in Goa too, because the broad objectives of All India Professionals Congress will be spelled out to you in due course. It has a wide impact on how policies are framed, how politics of the future will move forward. So with that objective in mind, we go straight away to welcome on behalf of the Goa Pradesh Congress Committee as well as the All India Professionals Congress, my colleagues, Mr. Siddharth Karapurkar as well as Sita Antau. We are shortly going to form chapters in Goa. I welcome Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who is here live, who will be interacting with all of you who have joined, as well as this is being broadcast live on RDX channel, cable channel in Goa. And also we have amongst us Dr. J. Geeta Reddy, who is the regional coordinator for the South Zone. Goa comes under the South Zone of the All India Professionals Congress. I welcome both of them. And I would like at this juncture to request Mr. Digambar Kamath just to say a few words of welcome. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. I welcome Sri Shashi Tharoor ji for this excellent program organized by Professional Congress. And I'm thankful to Shashi Tharoor ji for spending his time today with all of us and delivering a very important topic. The topic for us today is the Goenkaracho Khoro Adar Congress Sarkar. See, today when we are heading for the assembly elections, I am moving around the state and trying to talk to the people, and everybody today is comparing the government, Congress government between 2007 and 2012 and BJP government between 2012 and 2022. The people generally say that Congress rule of 5 years between 2007 and 2012 was a period of prosperity, wherein small people, marginal people, poor people had money in their hands. Whereas the 10 years rule of BJP government between 2012 and 2022 is considered as a period of poverty, where today everybody is starving. There is no money in the hands of the common man. Poor people are actually crying. And COVID pandemic has been mismanaged by this government to such an extent that 15 lakh population, 3,500 deaths, and out of that 400 people have died because of short supply of oxygen in the Goa Medical College owned by the government of Goa. So there is an anger in the minds of the people of Goa. Under no circumstances they want that this ruling dispensation should be brought back again to run this state. Now it is for left to our party how we handle it, how we take decisions, and how we understand the pulse of the people and take steps so that the party is able to come back to the power. Now, Shashi Tharoor ji has an experience. He has seen how Kerala has worked hard, how Kerala governments have performed. He has worked at the international level. He has got good connections with the banking sector. And I'm sure Shashi Tharoor ji will be able to guide us, guide the people of Goa in what way Congress party can really bring in those old prosperous days back to the state of Goa. I once again welcome Sri Shashi Tharoor ji for such an important meeting planning the elections in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We also have amongst us GPCC President. I know he has been indisposed for a couple of days. Thank you, Mr. Chodankar, for being here. You would like to say a few words?
Already done. We only extend our warm welcome to Shashi Tharoor ji and his entire team for sparing such a valuable time for Goa. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Girish Chodankar. So we will get going now with our eminent personalities who are here amongst us. I will introduce to you our Dr. J. Geeta Reddy, who is amongst us here right now, who will be also addressing us. Dr. J. Geeta Reddy is a professional medical doctor who is a gynecologist with wide experience. The work has taken her to several countries. She has worked in the UK, she has worked in Australia, she has worked in Saudi Arabia, and before she decided to come back home and took a plunge in politics, has been 4 times MLA in Andhra Pradesh, ma'am, Telangana.
Yes,
Yes,
Andhra Pradesh.
and
Andhra
former
Pradesh
minister
and once in Telangana. Yes.
Telangana. Before the division, she
Hello.
was in Andhra Pradesh and now with Telangana, and has been a minister in the past with key portfolios, having handled key portfolios like major industries and commerce, tourism. Incidentally, I also have a fair share of idea of tourism, culture, export promotion, and several other, portfolios that she has held in the past. Rich experience, currently the working president of the Indian National Congress, Telangana. I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to take over and address the gathering.
Namaskar to all the audience that is tuned in to us today for this evening session, and our chairman, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, and of course, leader of the opposition, Kamat ji, PCC President, Girish Chodankar ji, and you are there now, Elvis, our state president, Mr. Elvis, our COO, Mr. Alam Zaveri, and his whole team. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity, especially the Goan team. Our Goan team and our Goan president is very new, but he has done his job. We have thrown him a challenge of arranging this town hall, and he took it up, and he's doing a good job. So I congratulate you, Elvis, for this opportunity that you have given all of us. Well, talking about Goa, who doesn't know Goa? Goa is the dearest and the most beautiful state in this whole country. And to think of Goa was something of a dream for me during my tourism days. Well, Goa has brought a name for it. It's become a landmark for tourism. And thanks to the Congress government between 2012, it really made Goa a tourism hub for the whole country and all the whole world. We know how many, how many states people have keep longing to come to Goa, and not only our own interstate tourism crowd, but also from all over the world. It has become an international hub. And then apart from that, Congress also gave us that in Goa, it upheld democracy, free speech, secularism, social justice, and this made Goa a real paradise. Goa has been, if I know, adjudged by the Central Planning Commission as the best state in all fronts, and that's not an easy achievement, best state in all fronts. Goa had a consistent annual GDP, which is higher than the GDP, the national GDP of 12%. So there you are. It is one of the richest states at that time. And even during that time, the prices of cooking gas, petrol, diesel, food, electricity, water, they're all kept under control, unlike today. And there were lots of innovative welfare schemes for women and child, health, social security, etc. And the best part was the RTI Act was included, which meant they became, how transparent a government became those days. And that was a hallmark of the governance at that time. And after having said all these nice things, Goa is the smallest, but it's the richest. But then we have to say a word or two about what happened now after Congress laid down. Congress could have gotten, but there was a lot of kind of conniving and trading by the BJP, which took it away right from our hands, like Niwala apne haath se nikal diya, that kind of a thing. But Goa has also got its problems right now. The problems being that you have this proposed IIT where lands are being forcefully taken away from the public, and the public doesn't want it. And I'm glad to hear that there has been a backlash and the government has taken it back now. But there was a double tracking project for the Southwestern Railways also, and that was also a problem creator. There are lots of illegal constructions on government land by the BJP leaders, and that has also created a lot of heartburn among the people. Environmental problems are also being faced by Goa, especially your Mallam National Park. And this is one of the conversion of the Goa into a highly polluted coal hub. So there's a lot of fight going on. And of course, unemployment among the youngsters. That is disturbing the social harmony among the communities. Having said this, now that your team is all ready, the election fighting team is all ready to go to battle. You had someone like a senior person, like Chidambaram ji, who was in charge of your manifesto. And he has already named that Goa will be election fighting machine. So I do believe that you will be an election fighting machine. There's no other option for the people of Goa now. I request the people of Goa, please think of Congress again. You want to live your life in comfort and freedom without these divisive policies of the BJP. Please don't think of the other teams that are coming here. AAP has been here for a while, and so has now started Mamata Banerjee. Congress is the answer to Goans. And as already been said by Mr. Kamath, going Karo Cho, Karo Adhar, Congress Sarkar, which actually means the true help of Goans is a Congress government. So there you are. Please vote for Congress is all I can say to you. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for your wonderful words, ma'am. And as rightly said, Mr. P. Chidambaram ji has coined the basis upon which this election will be fought in Goa, that is economy, employment, education, environment, and ethos of Goa. Thank you for your words once again, and we will move ahead now with the star of the day, our national chairman, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Now, what is Tharoorosaurus? That will be dealt with perhaps by him later. He's a person who makes complex words simple, or rather the other way around, simple words complex. That's how we take it. Accomplished author of so many books, third time member of parliament from Thiruvananthapuram. So you can understand where Tharoor has its origin. As far as words are concerned, a wizard of words, a very famous diplomat. Think of Kofi Annan of the time, and the next who would follow is our very own Dr. Shashi Tharoor, former Deputy Secretary General who has served the UN for 30 long years. Later, when he came back, he carried on with his job, which he does best, that is diplomacy, as the External Affairs Minister for State of India. And then he has been the founder chairman of All India Professionals Congress. All of us have come together under this platform, and this is the platform precisely that has now brought so many of the participants together to hear Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Well, there is so much that can, so many words that can be used to describe what Dr. Shashi Tharoor is all about. We are very privileged to have him as our national chairman of the All India Professionals Congress. Definitely, after hearing him, not only will Congress get votes, more and more votes, but he will be an inspiration for people to join All India Professionals Congress. Over to you, Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elvis, for those kind words of introduction. Goa PCC President Shigiri Shodankar, CLP leader and former Chief Minister Digambar Kamarji, Dr. J. Gita Reddy, my colleague, and the in charge of the South Zone of All India Professionals Congress, Elvis, and all the others who gathered to make this gathering possible. Friends in Goa and all those watching on YouTube, namaskaram, as we say in Kerala, to all of you. I really wish I could have been with you in person. Part of the fun of campaigning in Goa is being in Goa itself, but we live in difficult times with Omicron and the various restrictions. I myself, having come back from visiting my children and grandchildren in the US, find myself in compulsory home quarantine and daily reports of increasing cases around the country. So I want to begin by wishing all of you good health, stay safe, and I'm glad that we are doing this important gathering about the looming elections in an online format and keeping you all safe at home. I'm delighted, of course, to participate in this event on behalf of the All India Professionals Congress, which is, as we call ourselves, Professionals for Progress, bringing together the values of the Congress Party throughout the country. The Congress Party, as you know, has always been the party of inclusive growth, of inclusive India, the party of inclusion, and the party of acceptance. And when you look at the representation of people in our ranks, you see India reflected in our representation throughout the country. We believe that everybody, irrespective of caste and creed, of religion, language, region, appearance, place of origin, gender, division should not prevent us from being one and working together in the interests of our country, our state, our locality, and our people. And this spirit of inclusive India, whether it's economic inclusion, whether it's political inclusion, whether it's social inclusion, is part of the leitmotif of my involvement in politics. As has been mentioned, for the last 13 years, I've been serving the people of Kerala as their member of parliament, as Thiruvananthapuram's member of parliament in the Lok Sabha. And I have to say that I find remarkable parallels between what I see in Kerala and what I know of Goa. Goa is a gift to India and to the world. It's steeped in a very similar history and yet a very different history from my own state. But one thing that both our states have in common is the sense of the past and the sense of the present. That is, people from all over the world and from all different attracted to Goa, just as they've been attracted to Kerala from the ancient times. In fact, even in terms of our ancient folklore, Goan folklore tells me that Parashuram resurrected this land from the depths of the seas. In Kerala, we believe that Parashuram flung his axe and created Kerala from the depths of the seas. Almost identical story. And of course, you also have the story that Parvati sat in meditation. Shankara kept looking for her. They settled in Goa as Mangesh and Durga. And then, apart from Hindus, you have Jains, Buddhists. Christianity flourished, particularly with the advent of the Portuguese. Goa came to be known as Rome of the East. Muslims came and settled in Goa as well. You have every community represented. I'm proud to say we also had the Jewish people, I think more than you did, but otherwise so much in parallel that I feel almost a sense of affinity as a member of parliament from Kerala. When I speak about the ethos of Goa, I feel I'm speaking about my own state and my own values. So if Kerala can be described as God's own country, it has been suggested to me we may describe Goa as God's own abode, G-O-A, Goa. And that's one way of looking at it. It's a very, very similar experience. And I think, when I talk about the Congress Party and say that keeping everyone together and advancing together is the way of progress, and it's the way of the Congress, similarly also here in Goa, we acknowledge the basic reality that diversity, a rich culture, rich traditions are helping make us special. And that's why it is so important for all of us that India remain more than the sum of her parts. India is a country that's always transcended history and time. And just at the same time as the winds of change are blowing and pushing so many of our young people in particular towards greater heights of achievement, so also the people of Goa in every respect would want to participate in the great future that India offers them. For me, preserving, therefore, this unique fabric, this unique identity of Goa, the ethos of Goa, where people of all faiths reside peacefully as brothers and sisters, share the fruits of progress and development. This is extremely important, and it's a core part of the Congress message in the state. We shall take steps to preserve the fraternity of all Goans, irrespective of their faiths and backgrounds, the equality, irrespective of castes and class and background, and the liberty, political and civil liberty of all Goans. We want you to resist the politics of hate and division, and always stand against the merchants of hate who have been trying to spread sectarian politics in a state where historically all communities have lived together. We are proud, of course, to celebrate the association of the Congress Party with Goa from the moment of liberation under Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. His contribution to the liberation of Goa is second to none. Of course, petty minds are now busy belittling his role, but history cannot be so easily twisted. I know that Goans have had a great deal of reverence for this man and for his promise from the very beginning that Goa's unique culture and identity would be protected. Congress leaders ever since have been proud to carry forward the same vision, the same dream. And I know that if you look at every Congress leader who has had the privilege of serving this nation as Prime Minister, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, Manmohan Singh, these great Indians have all believed with pride in what Goa represents as a jewel in the treasury is. At the same time, we're very conscious of the contributions of great Goans who have laid the foundations of modern Goa. There are literally dozens of names I couldn't recite today in order not to take up all the time in a litany of names, but we must particularly mention the memories of two great Goans in Dayanand Bandodkar and Dr. Jack the Sequeira. I know that the Congress Party has lamented the fact there are not appropriate memorials in honor of their memories, and I think that's something that we too will want to rectify, so that that both in physical terms and in terms of the institutions representing their values and ideas, that we can be able to take their memory forward. It's only the Congress Party and the hand of hope that stands between hope and fear, and that's why I'm here to talk to you all today. If we look back at the last 60 years since liberation, Goa, let's face it, by all standards, had her best years in terms of economic growth, social uplift, employment and standard of living during Congress rule. Ji mentioned the Congress government between 2017 and 2012. That's when I had the pleasure of visiting Goa and meeting him. And I must say that our unflinching commitment to upholding democracy, free speech, secularism, and social justice were the hallmarks of that last Congress government. And that's exactly the kind of government we'd like to give you again. Don't forget that Goa was adjudged by the Central Planning Commission to be the best state on all fronts, on all indicators. We had a consistent annual GDP growth of 12% in Goa. Even at the time when India was booming and growing, India was booming and growing at 8, 9%, Goa had 12. At the same time, we were able in Goa to keep the prices of cooking gas, petrol, diesel, and therefore of food, electricity, and water under control, so that the Goan populace never suffered from the kind of inflation that sadly characterized many other parts of the country. The government brought together into Goa innovative welfare schemes in health, education, and of course the sector of women and children, because economic and social security is so important to all of us. And then with the implementation of the RTI Act in Goa, with a great deal of commitment, transparency became the hallmark of governance. Whereas we have seen successive BJP governments in states and at the center trying to dilute the RTI Act, not appointing information commissioners so that questions remain unanswered, stalling and delaying. Goa was an example under the Congress of a government that cooperated fully, responded promptly to all questions, did not allow a backlog to build up, and therefore presented a true picture of transparent governance to the people of the state. And it's been a startling contrast that we have seen since 2012. Democracy has been stifled in Goa ever since the BJP came to power, first in the election of 2012, and then through the manipulation of the results of 2017. And we have seen nothing for 5 years but arrogance, mismanagement, and corruption. When I hear that the people of Goa have been deeply frustrated with the performance of the BJP, I'm not surprised. Because when I look at even what the newspapers have been reporting from Goa, we see an astronomical rise in prices of petrol, diesel, cooking gas, cooking oil. Every essential commodity has had a knock-on effect. Everything has gone up. For daily life has become much more expensive for the average Goenka. Loss of jobs due to the failure to restart mining in a responsible and sustainable way. Misguided tourism policies. So unemployment has been rising. Employment has been a real challenge. Corruption in every sector has increased. GST has been disastrously implemented, and the demonetization fiasco hurt Goa as it hurt every other part of India. The incompetent management of the COVID-19 crisis led to the deaths of innocents and immense suffering of people. We've had, I'm sorry to say, a very serious rise in crimes against women and children in Goa, with false cases against the innocent, the abuse of government machinery to silence critics of the government. And this has again been something which has affected the daily life of women and children across Goa. Then the policies of the government when it comes to dealing with land, the draconian Section 16B, land conversion laws, faulty coastal regulation laws, hill cutting, land filling, assault on heritage sites. It's been shocking. There's been an environmental assault as well on Molam National Park, and many are seeing Goa as a highly polluted coal hub, which of course the people of Goa have been rising up in protest. I'm proud to say I was one of the first to draw attention to this on social media way back in November 2020, when you had a big protest that 4,000 Goans turned up to protest the practices of this government in converting Goa into a highly polluted center of irresponsible coal mining. All of this we have pledged in the Congress Party to address. I want to say a special word to young people and to students. Students and teachers have suffered during particularly the COVID period due to the insensitive approach towards their woes and the denial of access to the internet to the poor and marginalized communities. So on the one hand, COVID-19 interfered with education and learning. On the other hand, people were not helped to get online and to improve their learning opportunities, and the poor in particular were disenfranchised. There's been a genuine failure on the part of the BJP government to create job opportunities for Goans. We will address that problem because I've seen this in Kerala as well. Goans are migrating out of Goa, looking for jobs elsewhere because the government is unable to provide for them here. And at the same time, unsustainable inward migration have come in and changed the quality and ethos of the state of Goa. I see anguish amongst the youth due to favoritism, nepotism, and corruption in recruitment to government jobs. That has to stop, and the Congress Party will stop it. We have seen too many examples of corruption and mismanagement. I remember reading of one case where I think in the health minister's district, 95% of the vacancies in the health ministry were filled by applicants from his district alone. I mean, that kind of thing is astonishing. But this kind of approach and the impunity with which it's carried out has been part of the standard operating procedure of this government. I assure you the Congress Party will not behave in this manner. And I do want to tell you that, that we will address these issues with a great deal of commitment. We will ensure that there is accountability by strengthening the Vigilance Department, empowering once again the Lokayukta and the ACB, and we will ensure that the kind of disturbance we are seeing in the well-established social harmony of Goa as a result of the ruling party provoking communal conflict on the slightest pretext, that will not be repeated. We represent inclusion and the values of good governance by taking everyone along. And I want to assure you that what the Congress is all about is going to be absolutely ensuring that everyone is taken together, that everyone lives harmoniously. I know that words like Goan Kirpon and Goan Asmita are lightly flung about, but in the Congress Party, they mean something to us. We value the special nature of Goa. We value the fact that, as has been mentioned earlier, the economy of Goa, the employment possibilities for the youth, education for our young people, and the preservation of the environment and the ethos of Goa will be the 5 principles that we would hold up all the time. As a Keralite, let me add that I truly want to underscore the commitment of the Congress Party to sustainable tourism. We have learned the importance of that. Kerala, with its God's Own Country campaign, was early in actually getting people to come and visit our state and partake of nature's delights. But at the same time, we learned first the hard way and then through intelligent application of policies that tourism should not come at the expense of the environment, that we must be absolutely sensible about ensuring that it's sustainable, that the environment is preserved, that waste management is taken care of, that everything that tourists enjoy is renewed and renewable. And that's something that we will absolutely preserve. Now, I want to take your questions, so I don't want to go on much longer. I'll sum up and wrap up by saying that we are with you in ensuring that your scarce land resources should not be commandeered by others. We don't want to see the Goan identity diluted. We value it. We believe it's a historic asset for the people of India, that those of us, that is all members of the Congress Party, who believe in inclusive India and do not believe in ironing out our differences to create a kind of monolithic India, we will want to see that Goan identity is preserved and not diluted. Your culture, your languages, your extraordinary diversity in terms of both ethnicity as well as religious and communal harmony and coexistence, all of this we will preserve. We will stop, first of all, the destruction of the environment and prevent further destruction. We will ensure that the young people of Goa have a future to look forward to. We want the young people of Goa to get a good education, to acquire skills, to ensure that employment is available to them and that entrepreneurship is going to be supported. We in the Congress Party have a particular affinity for people from the 18 to 30 age group because we see the future of the country as lying in their hands. We were the first party at the national level to talk about the demographic dividend. I'm sorry to see that the BJP government at the center and at the state has been shredding that demographic dividend and turning it into a demographic disaster. We need to reverse that. And I also want to say that apart from the joys of tourism, Goa's lively traditions of music, of hospitality, of sports, in particular football, is something that we all appreciate. And certainly as a Keralite, I particularly appreciate it. And we'd like to see it flourishing under the safe and protective hand of the Congress Party. So let me end by saying that I strongly am here to endorse the slogan, Goan Karacho Kharo Adhar Congress Sarkar. Vote for the Congress Party. Ensure that we have a Goa that is self-respecting, that is self-reliant, that is secure, that is at the same time free of the wrongs and the evils that have been visited upon it by 2 terms of BJP misrule, and that we will have a Goan government that will preserve the economy, promote employment, grant education, preserve the environment, and of course, ensure that the ethos of Goa flourishes to the benefit of all. Jai Goa, Jai Hind. I'll be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Everyone is applauding, and in that applause, I also welcome our Congress leader, former Law Minister of India, Mr. Ramakant Khalap. You expounded what ethos of Goa is all about. You told us to resist politics of hate, which has started creeping in very recently. For no rhyme or reason, of course, it is politics. And definitely we will adhere to your advice to keep away from these merchants of hate. You spoke about the tall leaders of the Congress party and their association with Goa, and as well as the leaders from Goa. You mentioned about the use of RTI. One single thing that has happened for this country, that is something that turned the whole thing around, is the RTI, although it is sought to be diluted now. In fact, you will know, sir, that leading to 2012, the present BJP used it to the hilt, the Right to Information Act. And now they have started diluting it, as you rightly said. Use of police. In fact, today there was a demonstration in Goa where the members of the Congress had gone to the women police station to ensure that cases are registered. There has been a case of a former minister who has resigned recently, accused of alleged sexual assault. Nothing has happened. On the contrary, the whistleblower has been targeted. You spoke about environment, which is very dear to Goans and particularly the youth. You talked about Save Mole. That means you are fully aware of what is going on in Goa. And our identity, the Goenkarpon that we talk about, Goan identity. Thank you for touching upon that. And you also spoke about the demographic dividend, which this government has turned into a disaster. Sir, we can go on, and thank you so much. And now it's time for questions. Believe me, a large volume of questions have been received. It's been very difficult taking the time constraints into consideration, but we have chosen a few. But before that, I'll be the first one before we go into mainstream questions. Sir, tell us something about Tharoorosaurus.
This is not the occasion for that. It's just a jokey idea to enhance people's vocabularies. But right now, I'm more concerned about enhancing people's consciousness of their rights to turf out this BJP government in Goa and bring in a new and progressive Congress government. We can always talk about other words later, Elvis.
Yeah, thank you. And all those who have replied to us through emails and WhatsApp messages, there have been a large number of questions, as I said, but we have to take a very few of them right now. And we begin right now with the first question from Rajeshri. The full name is not there. What are the Achhe Din? What are your views on price rise, COVID rise, and unemployment rise?
Well, I think the question contains the germs of the answer, Elvis, because Achhe Din is a mirage. I don't know if all of you are familiar with the concept of a mirage. You're walking in a desert, you're thirsty, you've run out of food, you're exhausted, and suddenly you see an oasis floating in front of you, and you keep going thinking you'll go to the oasis and get water. And as you're near the oasis, it disappears. That's called a mirage, and that's what Achhe Din is. Mr. Modi and his colleagues specialize in floating mirages before the eyes of the voting population of India. They say Achhe Din is coming, and as you get nearer, somehow it gets further and further away. It keeps disappearing into the horizon. That is the Achhe Din concept. We have not seen Achhe Din. We have only seen Bure Din since the BJP came to power. They came to power to an India of high economic growth, economic GDP growth has created. They came to an India where unemployment was going down every year, and they have now managed to create the worst unemployment ever recorded in the history of Indian records. Ever since they've been keeping records of an unemployment, our unemployment is the highest now. They came to India at a time when we were looking very, very optimistically towards a healthy, secure India focused on the future, and they completely undermined our health by mismanaging the COVID and creating so many deaths that we had the awful spectacle last year of bodies being floated down the Ganga, and oxygen in short supplies. People were literally gasping for air and for their lives in this country. We had a healthy economy. Entrepreneurship was multiplying. Micro, small, and medium enterprises were growing literally by the day. They destroyed that in one fell swoop with their whimsical and irresponsible demonetization. The informal economy is still not recovered from demonetization, which took 2.6% of our GDP in one blow. But then came the irresponsibly botched implementation of GST. GST would have been a good idea if it had been planned meticulously, eased in with a certain amount of planning and consultation. But this government's hasty and mismanaged approach created major setbacks for the formal economy. So in every single area and sector you can imagine, manufacturing, exports, small and micro enterprises, you name it, there is no sector where there is Achedin to show you. My simple question to the people of Goa and the people of India is the same question I ask my voters in Kerala. Are you better off because of BJP rule? Do you feel that you benefited in any way in terms of your life, your income, your ability to afford a decent standard of living, your educational prospects, your health? Have you benefited from seeing this BJP government in power? And the largest number of people everywhere will tell you, no, they have not benefited. So where is your Achedin? We need to turf out the government that has sold us the lie of Achedin and create a government that will deliver true, decent governance and better days for our people.
Thank you, sir. The second question, and a very important question for our economy particularly, is a question on tourism. There is a fear that Goa is running the risk of falling into failing tourism due to unplanned constructions, increasing concretization, menace of drugs, inept waste handling, etc. How can tourism be sustainable in this situation? The question is asked by Sita Antau and group representing the tourism industry. How can tourism be sustainable in such a situation?
Now, I agree with you. This is a very important question. Tourism obviously has become the mainstay of the state's economy. Mining has been disastrously handled, so there is a problem there. And therefore, tourism is your biggest contributor to your state's GDP. But there is an absence of holistic planning to sustain tourism. We've seen that the coastal belt has come under great stress due to the absence of planned infrastructure. And yet we're seeing massive commercial and residential buildings, the absence of effective sewerage networks, groundwater pollution, mismanaged garbage collection, all of which are wreaking havoc on the environment. And as a result, we've been seeing, and of course the pandemic has also contributed, we're seeing a tremendous decline in foreign tourism. But when you look at what the international media is showing of the opinions of foreign tourists about Goa, many of them are saying that they're not going back because of the rapidly noticeable environmental degradation. So it's in Goa tourism's interest to improve the environment so that when foreign tourists come, they will want to keep coming back. Keeping a check on ground, air, and water pollution is therefore indispensable. Proper planning of infrastructure development and understanding what is the carrying capacity of our beaches is extremely vital to sustainable tourism. And let me say, when we talk about sustainability, it's environment, but not only environment. It's also about the lives of the local people being sustained by tourism. The small hotel owners, the shack owners, the chaiwalas, the taxi drivers, the tourist guides, amateur tourist guides. These are the stakeholders whose lives must be sustained through tourism. And not just the big hoteliers dotting the beaches in the coastal areas. They also, of course, have a major role to play, particularly in terms of GDP generation. But the ordinary local people have always been the concern of the Congress Party, the Aam Aadmi of Goa. And these are the stakeholders in tourism, and we must ensure that what we do in tourism benefits them. So sustainability is about sustaining the lifestyles of ordinary Goans and sustaining the environment of Goa through responsible actions that I've just summarized for you.
Thank you, sir. Ivantika Pereira and Malaika Chawla, they have jointly asked a question. Are you aware? Yes, of course, you are aware of this. You already said it in your address. You're about three linear projects that go through the protected forest and wildlife sanctuary in the Western Ghats region of Goa. Sir, your comments.
Well, actually, I'm very proud to be one of the very first national leaders, non-Goan leaders, to tweet about this issue and bring it up on social media. And anyone interested can go to my tweet of November 4, 2020, where I took a media report on the protest by 4,000 Goan residents at the government's irresponsible plans to make the state a coal hub through the proposed 400 kilowatt line through a wildlife sanctuary and a national park along the Western Ghats. I said, this is going to choke the lungs of Goa. And you have a government in Goa where crony capitalism prevails over people. That simply cannot be permitted. We have to understand, I'm not anti-capitalism, I'm not anti-growth. On the contrary, the Congress Party presided over the best growth in our country. But our growth was focused on people's benefit. Mention of roads and the doubling of rail lines for coal transport, power transmission lines to generate energy for coal. All of these are irresponsible from the point of view of the ordinary people of Goa. And I think we will have to scrap these projects. I don't know. I can't speak for the government once the government is elected, but the Congress Party has nationally taken the view that such projects are truly irresponsible. We've all supported the Save Molem campaign. Molem, of course, that was the Save Molem campaign was a movement by young people in Goa. And they stood against these destructive projects. And I must say that I stand with them. If the Congress Party comes to power in Goa, which I certainly hope it will, we will give absolute priority to fulfilling the wishes of those young people who say, put environment ahead of crony capitalism, unlike what the BJP is doing.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Clifford D'Souza. He's asking, come out of the disease called defections, which has plagued the party and also other parties in the run-up to elections?
Well, I think it's an amusing thing because just yesterday or the day before, I saw in the news that somebody who had defected out of the Congress has defected back to the Congress. So, all these defections have now become a matter, shall we say, of almost humor. But let me say that, to my mind, individuals coming and going for their own personal advantage is a bane of politics. But what in politics is ideology and values. What is essential in politics is what we stand for, what we believe in. As long as we are seeing people coming to the people of Goa and saying, we believe in your ethos, we believe in your values, we believe in inclusive growth and inclusive India, we believe in preserving the environment, we believe in preserving Goa, that's ultimately what matters. I think this business of defection, personally, my view is it is all about self-advancement. The cardinal issue in this question of politics, to my mind, has always been, what sort of India do you want to see? What sort of Goa do you want to see in future? What are the values you want to see animating your country, your society, your people? What kind of country do you want to see your children growing up in? These are questions that every voter must ask themselves. I don't want to see an India divided by hatred. I don't want to see an India where people are going to be judged by an accident of birth into a particular religion or a particular appearance or a particular mother tongue or a particular faith. That, to my mind, is not the kind of India I want to see. And I'm sure that's not the kind of Goa that most Goans want to see. So in looking beyond the issue of individuals in a particular party, defections to a particular party, if they can look at values, then the answer will be very obvious. Which party's values have stood the course through 75 years of India's independent history? And for 100 years before that, almost in terms of 75 years before that, in terms of the values of the freedom struggle, clearly it's the Congress. And therefore, I would urge you all to support the values of the Congress Party, the ideology of the Congress Party, and not pay too much attention to musical chairs of defections and so on. Some will play such games. I urge you as voters to stay focused on values, principles, ideologies. That's the way in which our country and your state will progress.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from Shailendra Willinkar. There have been allegations against the BJP government of massive rigging in recruitments in government jobs. Track record in transparency is very poor. How does one ensure complete fairness in selection on merit?
You know, Elvis, I had indirectly commented on this very briefly in my overall remarks, because I agree that the track record of this government on transparency has not just been very poor, it's been disgraceful. And this question of massive rigging in government job recruitment is absolutely shocking, because for young people, their future depends on having a fair crack at getting a decent job. And that example that I think you yourself shared with me of how in health services, 95% of the posts advertised were bagged by youth from the very constituency where the health minister is an MLA. I mean, that is a national scandal. That is not a small thing. This kind of shameless behavior cannot be accepted. It's very interesting that the BJP government itself had come out with the announcement of a Goa Staff Selection Commission through legislation for recruitment of subordinate services for all departments. And that seemed to be a fair policy. But then through an amendment, they kept the applicability of the act in abeyance for 2 years. So for 2 years, you have a law that you are advertising saying, see, we're going to be fair, everyone's going to get a chance. And for 2 years, you don't apply the act and you give the department the freedom to hire whom they want. And they can quickly stack all the available vacancies with their cronies. I mean, this has been a disgraceful performance by the BJP government. I'm personally outraged by the malafidez with which they have done this. And I must say the Congress Party must undo this nonsense. I think we should have an open, transparent, fair process where every young person in Goa applying for a job in all the subordinate services, in all the departments, in all the government will feel that their merit will be the sole criterion, not their religion, not their caste, not their currying favor with the BJP MLAs or the ministers, just objective merit. And there are two reasons for this. It will restore hope to the hearts of every young person in Goa, but it will also give you a better Goa with better government services if only people of merit are there. If you put incompetent people for the wrong reasons into government jobs, the people of Goa will suffer because they will not be getting the kind of government services they deserve.
Next question is a related question, sir. It's asked by Mr. Amar Naik. 60% of India's population is below 35. We have young India, as you know. Yet that 60% suffers the highest level of unemployment. What will the Congress do?
You know, this is an extremely important question which the Congress Party has actually been trying to tackle nationally. Now, I don't want to put myself in the place of those who will come to power in Goa, because I believe that they will have very detailed thought through ideas themselves. But if I can suggest a few principles that I would stand for in the Congress approach nationally, we would certainly want to ensure, first of all, that everyone coming of age and looking for jobs will actually get skill-oriented training and education opportunities, that we will create job opportunities through sound tourism policies. We will have sustainable mining, not just two extremes. One extreme is you give all the crony capitalists all the mines they want. The other extreme is you ban everything. That neither extreme is correct. You need to have responsible, sustainable mining for the interests of Goa's economy and generate jobs there. Development of common potential. We need to fill up all the vacant government posts, especially the reserve posts for people in the SC, ST and other categories. And that must be done briskly. I think the Congress government can take action to fill such posts within a few months of coming to power. I would say that regularizing contract employees and daily wages in government who've had some years of service would also ensure that job insecurity is ended to a great extent. There are traditional occupations in a state like Goa which we see also in Kerala. Toddy tapping, fishing, carpentry, baking, bakery is a great tradition, pottery, agriculture. These must be protected and promoted and made more viable so that the people of Goa feel secure rather than feeling they have to go and look for jobs elsewhere. And at the same time, we must have a vision to create entrepreneurs and thereby, through entrepreneurship, enhance the number of job opportunities there. I have the feeling that students in Goa should be given more and more opportunities during their studies. We talked about this in our manifesto in Kerala. We didn't win the election, so we couldn't implement it there. But I would say that in Goa, you can connect students to various industries and businesses during their final years in college, especially the tourism industry and so on, so that they will get practical training by being associated like on an internship basis with existing industries. And then let's not forget the recreational areas of Goa like music and sport, football. Elvis, I think you yourself are the president of the Goa Football Association. Why can't we create more jobs in football? Why can't we make Goa a sporting destination through excellence in games like football? Cricket has already got a lot better than it used to be. And let's try and enhance opportunities like that. And certainly music, Goa has given us so much in terms of music, fashion. Sadly, we lost Wendell Rodrigues not too long ago, but he was another example of high quality fashion coming out of Goa. There are a number of cutting edge things in the worlds of the 21st century that will also generate jobs in Goa. So I would want a Congress government to encourage across the board all of these areas that I.
Thank you, sir. We have time just for 3 to 4 questions more. And I would like you to touch about women empowerment that has been requested by Harsha Naik.
Well, women's empowerment has been a cardinal principle of the Congress Party. We're very proud to have a woman president ourselves. And I must say that the Congress in UP has done something remarkable by announcing that 40% of the tickets in that state will be given to women candidates. We are strongly committed to the empowerment of women, but empowerment of women is not only in politics, it has to be in society. And the women of Goa have traditionally been able to hold their own. It's partly a question of history and development. The culture of Goa has shown a great deal of respect for women. And I've been shocked to see that in a place we are seeing women so grossly abused, as I mentioned in my initial remarks, under BJP rule. That must stop. And I think we really have to ensure that the women of Goa are treated not just with respect, but with a great deal of honor, that we should ensure that human development puts women absolutely at the center, whether it's in things like police reforms, ensuring, for example, more women policemen who can ensure that women's security is adequately protected, whether it's more skill training opportunities for women who want to go into the workforce, whether it's a question of women coming up in how can I put it, in the areas of their traditional activities, giving them opportunities to function in a crime-free environment, the end of false cases against innocent people, but at the same time, genuine, transparent, and effective cases against those who do conduct crimes against women and children. All of this is going to be extremely important for us to do. To my mind, this is a state which has a proud record, and we need to get back to that record. We need to ensure that the Goa of Parvati sitting in meditation, the Goa of of Maria Aurora Couto, whom we lost just 2 days ago, a great thinker and writer, the Goa of women who have stood out in the national imagination, that Goa is preserved, protected, and empowered. And I'm convinced that strong women leaders in a Congress government and strong women in the Congress party will ensure that this is something we will take forward as we go forward. So it's going to be, to my mind, a very important theme and a calling card of Goa and the Congress party in the years to come.
Sir, though you have touched upon this subject about hate, there is a question that was picked up. You can answer that. How to arrest attempts at spreading hate in a communally harmonious Goa? That has been asked by Ramkrishna Jalmi.
Thank you, Ramkrishna ji. It's a good name to have for a question like this, because unfortunately it is the names of Ram and Krishna that are being distorted and misused by those who are trying to hatred instead of the love, harmony, and good governance that Ram and Krishna stood for. I have to say that Goa is known for communal harmony throughout, both before independence or liberation and after. And it takes a particularly sick and perverted system of politics, specialized in by the ruling party, to spread communal hatred in a communally harmonious state. The good-natured people of Goa have managed, during 400 years of colonial rule, to preserve communal harmony. All faiths have flourished and prospered, so much so that even while Christians were ruling Goa, non-Christians happily settled in that state. And I think described as sosegado, peaceful and relaxed Goa, is what has contributed to your image of being such a hospitable state and attracted people from all over the country. Goa is rapidly becoming a microcosm of Indians from everywhere wanting to settle down in your state because of that harmony. Now, in recent times, the cancer of hate has started surfacing. And I'm really sorry to see people associated with the ruling establishment, the ruling party in the country and in the state, attempting to sow communal discord in Goa. And the government, instead of cracking down on it, is looking the other way. Their silence is condoning such misbehavior. We must absolutely stop this. Irrespective of your religious affiliation, every Indian will want to ensure that Goans live together, because that has been the way of Goans. And we in the Congress party, having always been the party of inclusion, we want Goans to live that way, because that is our idea of how people should live anywhere in India. Inclusion, collective enfranchisement, that is the way of progress. That is the way of the Congress. I've seen this in Kerala. That's what I stand for. I've seen it in Goa as a visitor and as a tourist. That's what you stand for. And I think that instead of allowing these forces at play that seek to divide us, that seek to give way to our insecurities and fears, these forces that seek to undo the great work we have done as a people with their every statement and effort to propagate hate, let us stand up against these merchants of hate and these dealers of fear. Let us remind ourselves that the great work of our nation is not complete until we're united. We must unite it now more than ever. And to the people of Goa, I say, let us not fear, let us hope. Let us not hate, let us stand for progress and inclusion and love. Let us, in many ways, accept that the hand this party is extending to the people of Goa, that hand will stand against fear, and that you will stand with it to ensure that fear is kept far away from Goa, and love, laughter, and inclusion will be the way of Goa, as it has always been for centuries before today. So there has been a Goa before the BJP, there will be a Goa after the BJP, and I urge you all to vote for the BJP and stand up for the principles and values that have animated this great nation and this great state for decades since independence. Jai Hind, vote Congress in Goa, and I wish you all great happiness and a good result on the 14th of February. Let Valentine's Day bring a Valentine card from the Congress to the people of Goa and from the people of Goa to the Congress party. Jai Hind.
Sir, thank you so much. We have time a little bit left, though we decided to hold this session for 1 hour. Yes, we have little time left. I'll take a question from the audience. I can see Devika Siquera, a very senior journalist here. Devika, can you pose your question if you would like to?
Yeah, can you hear me, Mr. Tharoor? Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed, I can. Go ahead.
Okay, would you like a political question or would you like a more literary question?
Whichever you like. It's your forum. I'm available to you, whatever you'd like to ask about.
Okay, I've been just going through your sort of, literary profile, and you've written some 10 books. 3 of them have come in quick succession from 2016, 17, 18. My question to you is, what is the more difficult thing? Is the research or the writing the more difficult part of getting a kind
I'm sorry, that wasn't terribly clear, the question. Would you repeat?
Yeah. What is the more difficult part, writing the book or researching for the book?
Oh, yes. Well, as a writer, I'll focus on the writing part. For research, sometimes, and particularly in more recent years, I am willing to accept help. In other words, I ask researchers, can you find this and this and this for me? And they go and do the legwork, which is otherwise very time consuming, going to libraries, searching for material, scanning it, putting it online, sending it to me. That kind of hard work they do. But ultimately, that kind of help is very useful to a writer. What you read in what you research and how you use what you read, that is ultimately up to the writer. So the writing is often more important in that sense than the researching. But without the research, your writing stands on air. You need the solid foundations of research for your writing to have meaning and value to the reader.
Obviously, yes. So thank you. I had one more question if you're willing to take it.
Yeah, I'm in the hands of Elvis. If you have time, go ahead.
I think we are running out of time, Devika. We taken one question from you. I will request Dr. J. Geeta Reddy to come online and give the concluding remarks.
That's okay. We only had one more question. Don't let Devika go away disappointed. Let her ask her other questions.
Okay. Devika, please go ahead.
Give a brief answer.
Okay. So the thing is, you've talked of the manipulation of the 2017 vote, and we seem to have gotten even worse. Okay, so Goa has the dubious record now of having 60% of MLAs, that's 24 out of 40, who changed parties in the last 5 years. What does this say about the nature of politics and politicians in the country?
I am sorry to say that Goa is probably the worst example of this now. I mean, there have been some states, of course, where you've seen an entire party switching over to another party. That in the Northeast has happened in a couple of places. But short of that, in terms of individual defections, Goa is, I'm afraid, not a very good advertisement for our country. I'm saddened by this because to me, and I speak personally because this is why I came into politics, politics has always got to be about principles. For me, it's values and ideas that have animated me in coming into politics. And I respect people who stand up for values. Now, I understand that sometimes there may be frustrations within certain parties. There may be opportunities offered by other parties. But somebody who leaves a party having been elected on a particular platform to go to a party with a diametrically opposed platform, that makes no sense. How can somebody who has preached inclusion and communal harmony go and join a party that preaches bigotry and division? It makes no sense. If you do that, then clearly you don't have any principles worth the name and you don't have any values or commitments. How can the people of Goa trust you in future? So these are the questions that I'm forced to ask. I don't want to cast doubt on the bona fides of people. I understand that a politician says, I'm in politics to serve my people, and therefore I will jump onto the bandwagon that gives me the best opportunity to serve people. It's the kind of excuse they give. But the truth is, that bandwagon must rest on the wheels that you have driven throughout your life in politics. If you don't believe in something, then why are you in politics in the first place? A politician has to have some commitment to certain values and principles. Having spent my entire adult life speaking for inclusive India, if tomorrow I go and speak for, say, Hindutva, I will ask you not to believe me because honestly, that doesn't make any sense anymore. Because obviously, then I'm repudiating everything I've told you for 40 years. Similarly, I say to those politicians in that 60% you mentioned, Devika, tell us what you stand for and let people vote for your own convictions and your integrity. If you have no integrity to offer them, why should they vote for you? Stand, therefore, with values and principles.
Thank you, Dr. Tharoor. Over to you, Dr. Geeta Reddy.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
Unmute yourself.
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, I did. Thank you, Elvis. Thank you, Dr. Tharoor. It was absolutely a fabulous talk. You covered everything that had to be covered. Nothing was left at all, including the questions that you answered in so much depth. You covered things like jobs, tourism, then of course industries and commerce, and naturally you didn't forget the women's empowerment part of it, and also music and sport. All these kinds of things that you covered gave it a rounded impression that you were talking about everything that matters to the crowd that has come, the audience that has come. So I would take this opportunity that you've taken so much time to give all the inputs that are required for this first town hall meeting, which is also an election campaign for Goa. I think we kickstarted the election campaign for Goa in a way like this. I think that's very grand of you to have done that. And communal harmony was another important one that you mentioned about. I also take this opportunity of thanking Dr. Kamat for being there and making it a success. And of course, especially the PCC president, Mr. Girish Chodankar, though wasn't well, you have attended, and that's very gracious of you. And Elvis Gomes, our newly placed AIPC president of Goa, he's done a great job. I think that's the way to go. Elvis, I can see a lot happening under your care in Goa, especially during elections. And Alim Zaweri, our COO, and his team that's did a great back office job, and our own South RO, Rohit Deshpande. I also thank, finally, all those people in the audience who took their time, their special time, and their very precious time to come and listen to us. And of course, you're going to listen to none other than our celebrity speaker and author and an MP 3 times, our politician, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who's spoken so well about many things. I once again thank you for making it a great success. But finally, I would like to say to all the ones who have been here listening to Dr. Tharoor speaking, please, the takeaway is vote for Congress, vote for Congress.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Doctor. Girish?
Thank you all very much. I'm signing out now. Jai Hind.
Yeah. Girish, you would like to say something? All right.
Girish, you're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Girish, unmute yourself.
We are very much thankful to you, and Goans must be touched the way you have delivered yourself, and the in-depth knowledge that you had about Goa. It's very impressive. So thank you very much for your precious time and very high quality talk that we had today. Also, thanks to Gitaji and your entire team. And I must appreciate Mr. Elvis Gomes, who has taken over this professional congress, being a new. He has taken this courage to hold this seminar on this. So I'm very much thankful to the Goa unit of Professional Congress. Hope you will do many more such in Goa through virtual. Thank you.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for a wonderful event. We are now